Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in time. We see that we're having a room continuously welcoming new people on Zoom. So while we are waiting for more people to join, feel free to maybe use the chat box to introduce yourself. And yeah, we will soon be starting. Thank you so much for joining. Hope that you all are having a nice Friday so far. It's been a nice week of discussion on the platform, and all of you who participated there, thank you so much for leaving all the comments and sharing about your challenges, opportunities, and case studies from your community regarding the solar energy and innovation, and all the good practices that you're doing in your community. It was really interesting to read about it. Um, Good. I think that without any further ado, we can maybe start our program for today so that we have enough time for your questions as well. Um, right now, just one important bit of information that you are also seeing in the chat box is that if you want to see the translated captions on your screen, you can access them by clicking on the caption feature at the bottom of your screen, where there are potentially three dots. You can click there and select your speaking language as the language that you're preferred to speak, like in English, and then choose the preferred language of translation, for example, Spanish or French or any other language that you want to see the translated captions in. So I think that will be a good, useful feature for you to follow up everything in case you want to read the translated captions. There is more guideline available in the chat box for that as well. Good. So without any further ado, let me welcome you all finally, and taking time out to join this insightful session today of our In Our Shoes Learning with Young Climate Innovators series. Today's topic is solar energy. And as I said, thank you so much for all the inputs already on the platform. We hope that we can share more inputs in this call, in this webinar as well. We have four very dynamic young climate innovators and their projects lined up for today. So it's going to be a very interesting discussion. And we also have two very interesting keynote speakers who are full of insights and knowledge on the topic and the field of solar energy. And they can potentially offer practical tools and topics, or potential tools and tips on this topic. I'm sorry for the tongue slip. So we are all very excited for the engagement, and thank you so much for keeping the chat very lively. Um, I also want to highlight one very crucial thing, which is that it is very important that we keep this webinar interactive, and we really listen to your reflections, any reflections that you have. So in order to do that, we will be using the Zoom polls throughout this webinar. So there will be Zoom polls focused on really what you think, and also you feel free to use the chat box as well in case you have any questions that comes to mind. If any questions come to mind later on, also don't worry, because we have the platform where you can ask them. Before we actually go to the program for today, allow me to share a little bit about this webinar together with you. So this webinar is part of the series convened by Youth for Climate Initiative, led by the United Nations Development Program and the government of Italy. Youth for Climate aims to identify, amplify, and support and scale up youth-led climate breakthroughs. The first Youth for Climate Call for Solution was in 2023, which sourced over 1,100 youth-led solutions in the areas of climate energy, climate education, energy, food and agriculture, urban sustainability, and ultimately awarded 50 teams across 39 countries with $20,000 each to implement their work. Their solutions cover topics like clean cooking, alternative building materials, agroforestry, organic waste, climate literacy, nature-based solutions, climate resilience, solar energy, digital solutions, and mental health. So this webinar series, which take place monthly, aims to really spotlight and highlight each of these areas, and have been serving throughout the year now as a space for learning, reflection among young innovators working on similar challenges. These series are called basically In Our Shoes, Learning with Young Climate Innovators. And you might ask yourself, why is it called like In Our Shoes? Because really young people are paving the way forward and leading the change in their communities. And because there is so much to learn from their experiences and daily challenges when it comes to doing this work. So in order to make sure that the broad range of experiences and inputs are covered, we are also initiating a platform discussion on the Youth for Climate platform for each and every month, and for before each and every webinar that we have. To allow knowledge sharing and to allow the exchange of good practices. So the insights gathered in this webinar and online discussions will be captured into a brief that will be shared with you in the coming days. So thank you so much for listening to all of that information. And without any further ado, allow me to introduce you to the first keynote speaker for the day, who is Farida Razaki. Farida is a Fulbright scholar and worked as an energy finance and climate analyst at the UNDP Sustainable Energy Hub. She earned her master's degree in climate and society from Columbia University, where she received the Campbell Award for her leadership and community service. As well as she has a master's degree in environmental law from the State University of New York at Buffalo. She is also an LLM candidate at Harvard School, who's specializing in climate and energy policy. So, without any further ado, Farida, please allow us to hear from you. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sahar, for this warm introduction. Hi, everyone. It is an incredible honor to be here today, especially alongside such inspiring young innovators. I'm really looking forward to hearing their ideas and insights on advancing solar energy solution. I would like to start with some insights from the COP29. So as we had at COP28, the global community made an ambitious commitment to triple renewable energy and double energy efficiency by 2030. However, as you all see at COP29, progress remains uneven, especially for Global South, which continuously face significant energy inequality. For example, over 1.18 billion people, which are like 60% more than those who with no electricity access at all, suffer from energy poverty. It means that they cannot use electricity for even essential needs. This shows that how urgently we need systematic solutions that focus on equity, innovation, and resilience. Solar energy, as you all know, is the cleanest and most abundant energy source that we have. And it is central to this transition because it holds incredible potentials to provide sustainable power for everyone, everywhere. So at the UNDP, we see energy not as just a utility, but also a foundation for sustainable development. And this shapes our approach to deploying renewable energy solutions such as solar energy. As we do not evaluate our success through like how many solar panels we have installed, but also we assess the broader impact that solar energy has on environment, on society, and on economies. Which means that we go beyond fragmented or only technology-driven solutions, but we bring an integrated system that deliver real and lasting changes. For example, the UNDP flagship programs such as Solar for Health, which you may have heard of that, it was launched in 2017, and The initiative is aiming to address the critical issues such as healthcare facilities without any reliable electricity, which has a double impact both on energy access and also providing electricity. Especially, I can give you an example of Zimbabwe, which solar installations have kept vaccines properly refrigerated and made nighttime healthcare services possible at that area, especially in remote areas that they didn't have access to electricity, even for the hospitals. Also in Yemen, we have solar energy that are helping communities cope with dual challenge of conflict and also energy poverty. And through those efforts, we have reduced the cost of energy up to 65%, which also improves the livelihoods of people and builds resilience. At the heart of our work also, we bring women and also pay attention to gender equality, because as you know, women are disproportionately affected by energy poverty. So UNDP integrates gender responsive approaches at every stage, from training women as solar technicians to promote their leadership in energy cooperative. For example, I can give you the example of Nepal, which nearly half of the participants in solar training programs are women. Also in Madagascar, we also have similar initiatives. We are helping women to become solar entrepreneurs, give them technical and business skills, which also help them to work with the government to ensure energy policies, or also considering the gender issues. Also, we try to bring communities in planning and also execution of renewable energy projects, including solar projects, to make sure that it aligns with their needs and also context of the area that we are implementing the projects. And also we meet the local needs and also have the support, which is of course necessary for long-term success. So how the UNDP does that? It's firstly through, of course, there are many different ways, but I will just discuss three main areas that are more outstanding for me. Firstly is through transforming governance and building capacity, which you know that for an energy project to be designed, deployed, it needs an enabling environment, which the first one is to have an enabling environment through energy policies that are receptive for the projects, private investments, and also for long-term impact. And the deployment and the shift to renewable energy in general, I can say, depends on those policies. So that's why UNDP works with the governments to update outdated energy policies and regulations to create a condition that encourages private sector. For example, in Iraq, we help reform policies to attract more investments in solar energy. Also in Afghanistan, we have projects that bring renewable energy to rural households, but also training people to be leading the projects. For example, through one of our projects, we trained more than 500 people to but the range of people also from government to private sector to community leaders to manage and expand renewable energy projects, which is part of our capacity building programs at the UNDP. UNDP really invests on building the capacity of local community and also governments to take the leadership of the renewable energy project themselves, because they are the ones who know the context. They are the ones who know the needs more. The second is by bridging a finance gap. You know that there is a disparity in global finance, especially on energy. We also saw a lot of conflict, a lot of discussions around that at COP29. You know that 90% of financing flow on advanced, they are mostly on advanced economies, also China, but countries in global south, they are mostly lacking enough financial resources. For example, in Africa, which has like 1.4 billion people, receive only 2% of those investments. So UNDP financial innovations aim to fix this imbalance. For example, our Africa Mini Grid program seeks to raise 65 billion to connect 265 million using different sort of financing mechanisms, from blended finance to thematic bonds. Also in Somalia, we piloted pay-as-you-go solar mini grid model programs, which allow the low-income households to access clean energy without upfront cost. And finally, we have like digital technology and innovation, which it's one of the growing area. As you also may have seen some discussions at COP29 we had around this, that how we can use digital technology, AI, to deploy and have more renewable energy projects with more accuracy and also with more impact. So this is why digitalization is a key to optimizing energy systems. At UNDP, we have several projects which we try to work with governments, with local communities to harness the potential of digitalization and AI through energy programs or energy projects. For example, in Mauritius, UNDP's Smart Grid initiative is to use AI and also advanced analytics to improve grid efficiency and resilience. So in these for all these efforts that UNDP does, it's like the approaches to as I mentioned, to consider the local context, and by working with communities, especially youth, so to ensure that the project is not only delivering energy, but also creating lasting impact on social, economic, and environmental fronts as well. So especially for youth, UNDP has different initiatives such as this one, which supports to bring more youth into all different stages of renewable energy or just energy transition. For example, UNDP conducts global youth consultations to gather insights and recommendations from young energy leaders. For example, we had a consultation before the high-level dialogue on energy with youth. As far as I remember, there were more than 300 participants that they were all under 30. They provided their insights on how to achieve sustainable energy, how to achieve a sustainable development goal, especially number 7, and how to integrate this with other SDGs to bring more accessible, reliable, and affordable energy. Also, UNDP supports youth-led initiatives. For example, UNDP through programs like this one tries to bring more youth into the different stages. Like we have the UN Energy Impact, which aims to fund and support more than 1,000 youth-led clean energy projects by 2030, which those sort of partnerships highlight the potential of young people to drive significant progress. And also UNDP has advisory groups with youth participations, which also recognize the importance of inclusive energy governance and bringing more youth into on the table. For example, in Africa, we have especially in South Africa, we have 6 young leaders who are invited to join the external advisory group on energy governance to have more insight from youth perspectives on youth policy making and also bringing more youth into the development programs. And of course, there are a lot of opportunities for trainings and also skills that youth may need in their effort. For example, in Eswatini, the Youth Leadership and Sustainable Energy Academy developed in partnership with the University of Eswatini also trains young people for bringing more insights into energy technologies and also entrepreneurship. As I mentioned, youth are the central part of the policy making for UNDP because at the UNDP we don't see youth just as beneficiaries but also as leaders and people who are bringing their potential and their leadership into having a more just and also inclusive energy transition. In closing, I want to leave everyone with this, that energy transition is not about technology, infrastructure, finance, or whatever which comes with that, but it is more about our people. So this is why we make sure to have the impact, but also, and during the process, bringing people and the youth into the process. So young people like you have the vision, passion, and also resilience to shape the energy future. So by stepping as innovators, like today, entrepreneurs, advocates, you're of course you're making the change already. So I just want to say that keep pushing the boundaries, keep challenge the status quo, and also know that the effort that we are putting today as youth, it will definitely have impact today and also for a more sustainable tomorrow. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Farida, and thank you so much for leaving us all on a very positive and inspirational note, to remind us all that it's not about the infrastructures and the bureaucracies and framework that we usually associate, your renewable energy or solar energy to, but really about people and what good it can bring to people's life. You very interestingly highlighted two of the good practices that were highlighted on the platform discussion by the community members, which was about the example in Yemen. And one that really struck to me was really about your point that this transition is about people, because they were translating how solar energy is helping the internally displaced members of their community and bringing a change in their society. So thank you so much for reminding us all about that. Without any further ado, I will pass the floor now to Eva Strasser. Eva is the Gender and Youth Analyst at Sustainable Energy for All, where she leads initiatives to promote gender equality and youth inclusion in the sustainable energy sector. She manages SE for All's STEM trainingship program in Sierra Leone and Panama, and works to integrate gender and youth considerations across organizations' efforts. Eva has researched gender indicators for SDG 7, which is about sustainable energy for all, and the intersections of gender, energy, and artificial intelligence. She has previously worked with NGO Working Group on Women, Peace, and Security and the UN Department of Peace Operations. So, Eva, without any further ado, I pass the floor to you.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Sahir. It's great to be here with you all today, and I'm so thankful to UNDP's Youth for Climate Initiative for the continuous partnership, bringing SE for All into these spaces and letting us interact with youth like you who are so influential and amazing. I got to read some of the applications for this past year's Youth for Climate, and just the work that you're doing is, yeah, so inspiring and so amazing. And so good luck to anyone who, yeah, applies at the end of this journey. So anyway, after all my thanks, just to say it's great to be here today. As Sahar lovely mentioned, my name is Eva Strasser. I am the Gender and Youth Analyst at Sustainable Energy for All. And I'm super excited to dive into solar energy, which is super important to the work of SE for All and central to our mission. And to speak quickly about the organization overall, our work really seeks to accelerate the global energy transition, particularly in emerging and developing countries. In line with SDG 7, our focus is on the link between energy, climate, and development. And to accelerate these efforts, we partner with governments, organizations, and communities worldwide to fight energy poverty, promote renewable energy solutions, and tackle climate change head-on. At SE for All, central to my work, but I think something that we all know, right, is that women and youth, especially in the energy sector, play a crucial role in solving these challenges. By making governance and decision-making more inclusive, we can strengthen climate policies and efforts to eradicate energy poverty. And so, yeah, as we gather here today, I mean, the energy access challenge remains vast. 685 million people throughout the world still will live without access to electricity, 2.3 billion without access to clean cooking technologies, still relying on rudimentary things like firewood, coal, things that are really harmful for the environment, but also for health, and time consuming, pulling people away from, employment or economic or education opportunities. And as we know here on the webinar today, as Farida mentioned, right, this energy gap disproportionately affects women and youth. For many women and youth, this means this inaccess to energy really means poor health, missed educational opportunities, limited economic mobility, right? The inability to, sort of move up in the world and contribute to the sustainable development goals. So when it comes to the energy sector itself, we know that women and youth are underrepresented. Women in particular make up only 32% of the renewable energy workforce. As you can see on the slide, only 40% of the solar PV sector. And generally where women come in and where youth come in, right, are at those lower paid and more administrative roles. What we see is that there's not as much representation among those technical or STEM roles. And I'll share the link to the IRENA. It's not an SC for all research, but it is IRENA, which is amazing. And they do a really great breakdown of what the solar industry sector looks like, especially for women. So if you're interested, it's in the chat. And we see that youth employment is super high, right? 283 million youth are unemployed globally between the ages of 15 and 24. They're missing these economic opportunities, but also they're not in education or training opportunities, right? And we're seeing that 60% of these are women. So young women really are disproportionately ineffective. But what this lack of representation means and why it's so important is that we're missing out on the innovation, creativity, and solutions that youth can bring to the energy transition. We're missing that piece that will drive the energy transition to where it needs to be and accelerate our efforts to 2030 goals. At SC for All, we really focus on changing this. My role in particular focuses on integrating gender and youth into the energy transition. Well, we'll stay on this slide. I'll talk to our four key areas of work where our program sort of works and promotes gender and youth. The first in gender and youth mainstreaming, so really advocating for the inclusion of women and youth across the industry goals, raising awareness, working with both governments and organizations to ensure policies are inclusive. The second is professional development. So we offer training, mentorship, and career building opportunities to equip women and youth with skills needed to succeed in the energy sector, particularly to advance to leadership roles, which we will chat about shortly, and I'll focus the rest on this, but let me tell you the third and fourth. The third is our advocacy pillar. So we build that global momentum to ensure women and youth are represented at key events, to help drive policy change and that cultural shift that's really needed to go along with it in the industry. We work on energy and transition plans in collaboration with governments. So I just actually got back from Sierra Leone, where we recently launched the Energy Green Growth Plan there. And our team worked to integrate gender and youth considerations into policies. We talked about promoting energy infrastructure in schools, right? So solar panels on buildings, the lighting needed for youth to go to school and to get that education, that climate change and energy curriculum, which is so important to supporting the future energy workforce. And then having a representative energy workforce, so tapping into that underrepresented group of youth and bringing them into the space. We also have our SDG 7 Youth Ambassador Program, which is focused on advocacy in particular, providing a high-level platform for youth leaders to really meaningfully participate in energy dialogues, meet with high-level representatives, raise awareness on the challenges and opportunities of the energy transition within their industry or within their regions, really. And our fourth is on data and evidence. So we analyze data. As Sahar kindly mentioned in my introduction, I have researched sex disaggregated data. So something that's important to SC for All is that piece around standardizing data and indicators, particularly on gender and on youth and age, and what that means for the energy sector. So data is super important, playing a role in how investors decide to finance, how governments decide to write policy. And so what we want to do is standardize that across the sector and really bring to the forefront that sex and age disaggregated data to making decisions. We've also researched on the intersections of gender, energy, and AI, where we find women underrepresented in the sectors, biases in AI technologies, underfinancing on SDG 7 and SDG 5. It's super interesting research. If you're interested, it's on the SC for All website. But I think what we're finding there, right, is like that role that women and youth play in technology is so essential. We're finding that diverse teams create innovative solutions. Like that's been proven. And so really that technology piece will be so important and something that if you are interested in it or have a slight interest, right, I would encourage you to pursue because that's sort of where the future is headed. But like I said, I'll focus on professional development and this slide right here. So as you see, these are our four bigger pillars of our professional development our work. We offer several opportunities for women and youth to gain skills, training, networks, mentorship needed to succeed in the energy sector. Our work particularly focuses on solar energy, so super excited to share these with you. We've supported already 486 women and 196 youth through mentorship and technical training programs. Our program is pretty new, so these numbers are absolutely amazing for us, and we can only go up from here, right? The first one I'll talk about is our STEM traineeship program, which I'm super excited because I've only been here for a year with SE for All, but this is the program that I've come to know most intimately. And it offers activity-based technical training and professional development through soft skills webinars to young women in renewable energy who have recently graduated from a degree. The program offers real-world experience on things like solar PV installation, energy efficiency, energy system design. We've trained 34 women across Ghana, Kenya, Panama, and Sierra Leone. Particularly in Sierra Leone, our participants received training as part of the healthcare electrification project. So they brought solar-powered electricity to health centers in remote regions. I think that their work helped power the Kailahun Government Hospital, if you're familiar with Sierra Leone at all, but it also helped power 18 community health centers. And our STEM trainees really saw how that not only impacts, right, the energy that's provided, but also changes life. I think one of our STEM trainees at the graduation, she said, what I learned is that this really provides hope. And so we're seeing that solar energy is not just an energy imperative, but it's a human imperative. It's something that drives development, but also drives that peace in humans that is so central to our life, which is that hope. The trainees learned about solar PV installation. They learned about commissioning and maintenance. They were on the rooftops really installing the solar panels, and so being able to do that hands-on training. Then in Panama, our trainees got to work on Operation Solar, which is an initiative led by the National Energy Secretary of Panama. They worked on stakeholder management, they designed PV systems, and made sure that everything was in regulatory compliance with Panamanian laws. And they also got to meet with stakeholders directly. So it's a really cool program. We just wrapped up both the Sierra Leone and Panama cohorts, but in 2025, there will be new cohorts. And as I will say to you 100 times, please follow us on social media, because we would love to have as many of you that are interested involved in our program. So yeah, keeping these things in mind for sure. And as I think a lot of people know, the solar energy requires that practical planning and optimization. And so we've worked to offer trainings in energy modeling to develop and optimize solar energy projects. We have open learning courses with geospatial data management focus and clean cooking modeling. Those are the two that SE for All worked on, but our partners have worked on so many more courses, and they're open to anyone interested. I've linked this at the end. And I'm sure that we'll share the PowerPoint out. I believe Lydia will share everything out after the presentation, but the online courses, if you haven't had enough of energy already, you could start them today. You can earn certificates on completion that you can share out with your networks. And really, I mean, they're great courses to deep dive into. They're only, I think, 32 hours each, and they're open, free, accessible to everyone. So definitely, check those out. Our other one is our This Is Cool challenge, which highlights the need for affordable and green solutions in renewable energy, particularly around cooling. So our solutions in the past that youth have proposed include solar-powered solutions from food security to cooling, solar-powered cool boxes for medicine, solar fans, these technologies that really help maintain that food and medicine storage. So not only addressing SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, which is the focus of SE for All, but really that whole sustainable development where everything is considered. And finally, if any or all of what I've said is of interest to you, which I think it is, I can safely say, probably because you're here today, SE for All wrote our International Development Career Handbook. It's a super valuable resource for anyone who's looking to get into the energy sector. And it really highlights that you don't only have to have an engineering background to be involved in the sector, right? I mean, Farida's in law school, which amazing. But you can be a lawyer, you can be in finance, you can do project management. And this guidebook really talks to the skills and the, education level that you need for each of these. And again, I will share it. But I encourage you to explore the handbook, see what opportunities are out there, see how you can, represent yourself in the sector and represent youth more broadly. And I will share all of the SE for All resources for our and keep out for a lookout for our 2025 programs. And I'll share the social medias. I have my LinkedIn on here as well. I invite you all to sort of connect and stay in the know about what we're doing and what we have to offer. And so thank you so much for your attention today. oh yes, thank you. Our link to resources. Totally forgot to say next slide, but this is everything I talked about. The one that's on top that I want to mention, if any of you are interested in clean cooking, integrating solar into clean cooking, the mentorship program is already open for applications. The deadline is December 13th. It's a partnership between GWNet, the Clean Cooking Alliance, and SE for All. And it's really tailored for early to mid-career professionals. So, I mean, youth are extremely encouraged to apply and to, you know, like be involved in this mentorship program. If any of you are, you know, further into your career, they also accept applications for mentors. So really building that network of support for, well, particularly women, but, you know, building that network of support and having that as a way to grow and learn. And so I hope that this has inspired you to think about the role of your energy in your communities and the world, what it means for you right in this moment. And before I go, like I said, we have some really cool testimonies from our Sierra Leone trainees. And so I want to share a quote from Samuela Yambasu, who is our graduate from our STEM traineeship program of recent. And she said, women and youth participation in the STEM and energy sector is essential, especially in regions like West Africa, where energy access can change lives. When women and youth are part of the conversation, we're building a more inclusive and innovative future. And so to finish, right, just remembering that solar energy is not just about the technology, it's about changing lives. And where women and youth are leading that change, we are unlocking new potential for everyone. And so, like I said, please feel free to reach out anytime, whether you want to learn more, whether you want to connect. I'm always open and sharing new opportunities on LinkedIn, so that's there. The next slide has all of our SC for All pages and things to stay in touch. I'll drop some links in the chat also, because I know I mentioned quite a bit that, you know, I hope some people are interested in. But yeah, super excited to continue working together, making the energy transition equitable, inclusive, innovative, impactful for everyone. And thank you again for everyone for listening. And thank you to UNDP and Youth for Climate for holding this incredible space and bringing us all together today. And I look forward to the rest of today's conversation.
Thank you so much, Eva. Thank you so much for highlighting all the resources. I think it will be very much appreciated by the audience here and the young people who will be watching the recording later on. We really thank you for all of that. And thank you so much once again for highlighting the changing life perspective of the solar energy, and actually one very crucial thing, which was the quality of energy that is provided by the solar innovation. Actually, we will be discovering this in the presentations by the audience, so really looking forward towards more discussion on that point. And now, without any further ado, we will have one of the Zoom polls on our screen, because we realized that this is November. We have been doing these webinars since the beginning of the year, and hopefully your energy is not down. So this is now your chance to share how familiar you are with solar energy, and if you think, in your personal opinion, if there are any its benefit, how familiar do you feel of its benefits as well. So are you like very much familiar with it? Are you somewhat familiar with it? Or it's okay that you're not familiar at all with it, because we will be talking more about it, and there are resources available by which you can learn that. So we will give this a minute, and then um, we will check what the reflections are saying from the community present here today. Hopefully you all can see the Zoom poll on your screen and have expressed your opinions. Maybe now we can check the reflections. Soon we will be having, oh, it is a very aware group present here today. This is very encouraging to know. And thank you so much for all the honesty that you had throughout this poll. So the 7% that we have present among us today, to be honest, I'm also very included in that 7% as well. So it's a great learning space that we have together, and also the people who are also like somewhat familiar by the solar energy and its benefit, hopefully we will be able to kind of enhance that knowledge as well, and have some sort of like a knowledge transition as well that can happen in the chat or on the platform. So thank you so much for participating in the Zoom poll. Now we are going towards the most interactive part, most interesting part of our session for today, where we will hear from young people who are driving change in their communities through the help of solar energy transition. Without any further ado, I would pass the floor now to Pablo Castellano from Colombia, who is representing their project Energy in Every Life Cycle for Everyone. Pablo, good. Hope that you're doing well. I have two questions for you that we will love to hear your reflections on. Number one is, would you like to share a little bit about your project, first of all, what it is about? And number two is that really the quality of energy that we just talked about in the previous intervention by Eva, right? Can you let us know how you analyze the health and of the batteries, and what are the key indicators for it that you have to look for? And also, how do you use basically the batteries to generate solar energy? So Pablo, the floor is yours.
Hello, Sahir. Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. First time, I want to add that it's a great space to share with other awardees and to bring others into climate action. So as Sahir was saying, my project, which I represent, is called the Energy Life Cycle for Everyone, because if you go next slide, I am originally developed our energy. Lydia, could you go please to the next slide? So what you're seeing here is a very simplified explanation of what lithium battery is. Essentially, when you have one of these batteries, what you have inside of it is a grouping of smaller batteries in type. And this makes it versatile for different adbatics. It's taking one of the most readily available, widely available, and large capacity batteries that are out there in the market, which are batteries in electric vehicles, mostly in cars or in buses. And so, as I was saying, these batteries inside of them are composed of smaller ones. And our entire premise is the fact that since these batteries are so big and they are so well developed in terms of technology, when they finish their cycle or their work in their original electric mobility function, they still have quite a considerable amount of energy storage left inside of them. Very well be using other uses. However, currently it's being treated as trash. So think about batteries as being a single-use plastic bag. Very essentially what we have developed is that those batteries and determine with a very efficient procedure what is the current state of health and remaining useful life of the batteries. And with that information, which is what Sahir was asking, we can then determine for what type of second life we can destine them and how to reconfigure them. So essentially at Batex, what we do is we take batteries that are waste today and we remanufacture them into new batteries that we destine to solar energy storage. And it's important to take into account that when you are generating solar energy, you have three pillars of generation. One is the panels. They harness the energy from the sun and they transform it into electricity. Second is an inverter, which turns electricity, as you guys might have heard, electricity runs in two types of currents, alternate and direct, AC and DC current. And not every device is compatible. Generation goes one way, usage goes the other. So you need an inverter to literally invert or to switch from one to the other. And finally, if you're going to be employing that energy in a place that has no access to the energy grid, we are completely remote, or if you want to store the excess energy and use it later, then you need a battery because the panel only generates energy, it doesn't accumulate it. That's where the battery comes in. So it's three pillars, and we're taking care of one of those pillars, making it much more sustainable because as of right now, batteries are the highest cost of this process. So this is what we do in Batex, and then we wanted to take it a step further, not only through the environmental benefit that it has, but to take it into a social benefit. So next slide, please. These batteries can be used in a wider range of uses in mobility, in residential, in industry, and we have adapted them successfully to all types of very complex industries. However, our main goal is to also bring this energy to where it's needed the most. And that's why we're saying that it's not only in every life cycle, but it's in every life cycle for everyone. Next slide. And that's where we decided to take this energy to the town of Catanzamo. It is a native community of the Arhuaco people located in the northern part of Colombia in the Caribbean coast in the Sierra Nevada region. And this town is a hub for learning and cultural preservation. It hosts a boarding school that teaches to more than 150 children, is home to more than 30 families, and is a traditional teaching center for their spiritual leaders. It also has a health outpost, and it had inadequate energy access. So it was a prime position to take our batteries and deliver benefit. Next. We made alliances. The project was essentially made viable, and it's all thanks to Youth for Climate. The main financing for this project came out of this wonderful program. And thanks to this, we were able to prove that our batteries can not only work for industry, but more importantly, they can work for people. We were joined by other entities, by NGOs, and by other companies who pitched in and helped out with resources, with logistics, and with connections so that this could all be made possible. And we actually structured and executed the project together, all of us. Next. It consisted of installing 3 energy storage systems. The main one in the school, because it's the largest and it has the biggest requirements. We electrified the classrooms, the dormitories of the students, the kitchens, and their toilets. We also gave energy to the health outpost, which previously had no access to energy. And finally, to the cultural gathering, which is of spiritual significance to the community. And the fact that we use second life batteries, that they are, I have to say, they are as good as new. They are not like being secondhand. They are not low quality. They have a very long, useful life ahead of them. But we avoided the need to manufacture new batteries needlessly. And this helped us avoid over 8 tons of CO2 and over 300 kilograms of what would have been hazardous waste of batteries that were being needlessly thrown away. Next. These are some pictures of the system, the solar panels that are in place. Then you see the picture in the middle is the same building, which are the classrooms already lit up at night with energy. And then the installation. You can go to the next one too. And so, guys, whatever questions may arise, we want this project to keep going forward, and we have been very supportive of Youth for Climate, and we know that with their help, we're going to keep on striving to make a better difference in other places, country, Colombia, and send you all a message to apply to Youth for Climate once the next cohort opens. Take the chance and be able to make your solutions true.
Great. Thank you so much, Pablo, for sharing about your project together with all of us. It was great learning about it. And thank you so much about basically conveying this whole sense about how the ruined battery of yesterday can be bringing energy, life, schools, education, and communities for today and tomorrow. So thank you so much for highlighting that aspect. Um, Now, without any more wait, we will have one more Zoom poll on our screens. So hopefully we can use this time and express our voices through this Zoom poll. But also don't forget that you can also ask questions in the chat box whenever you want. So in case you have any questions about what we have discussed so far, please feel free to ask that in the chat box. So the Zoom poll that we have on the screen, hopefully now, is what do you think is the biggest challenge in the adoption of reused battery technologies? You can also answer it in context to your community or general knowledge as well. But is it like awareness and education? Is it cost and financing? Is it technical limitation? Or is it regularity barriers, like how accessible it is by in a national or international framework in your context to basically have reused batteries and make them accessible. We also got some interesting feedback and interesting challenges on the platform as well. We will be discussing some of them at a later point in this call where we talk about barriers basically. But it will be great if you can maybe express yourself in this poll. And if the option that is the biggest challenge in your community is not included in this poll, feel free to use the chat box as well to maybe highlight if the challenge is something different than awareness, cost, technical limitations, and regularity barriers. Good. So maybe we get to see the results now on our screen. Okay, so number one is awareness and education. Number second that we see is cost and financing. 25% is technical limitations and 7% with regularity barriers as well. Indeed, awareness and education, and also, making proper partnerships and reaching out to the communities can be difficult, in one context in another. And maybe we can discuss this more in our next presentation. So for our next presentation, we have together with us Maria Jose from Sustenta Honduras, and she is also from Honduras. So thank you so much, Maria, for joining us today. Maria, would you like to share a little bit with us about your project, and also can you maybe discuss any partnerships that you have developed with local stakeholders to facilitate the energy initiatives? Just as we read also, education and awareness is such a big topic. How did you approach that partnership element in your project? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sahar. I'm trying to share my screen. Not sure if this will be possible, if I'm allowed to.
Yes, feel free.
Okay, 1 second then. Okay, it's asking me for some authorization. 1 second. I think they should be able to share it now. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
And apologies for my unorthodox way of sharing the screen. This is unfortunately a Mac computer, and I'm still trying to find my way around it. But yes, my name is Maria. I come from Honduras, and I am a project monitor and evaluator to Sustenta Honduras. We are a youth-led organization that is based in Honduras, mostly focused on policy advocacy, particularly in decarbonization, action for climate empowerment, and at the moment focusing a lot on the energy transition and making energy available. And in this context, let me introduce you our project, stating first the problem. And the problem is that in Honduras, 45% of schools do not have access to electricity, or electricity is not reliable. 45% of schools translate to around 6,000 schools. And this problem was, this is something that we already had in mind. Often when we talk through the NGO with youth leaders in communities, this is often one of the first points of discussion, and electricity access. So we partner with the University of Berkeley, who further helped us map the actual number of schools. And this is how we found out it was actually 6,000 schools. And with this in mind, we were able to create the first roadmap for school access, for electricity access for schools in the entire country. This had never been before. We had rough estimates based on different census and research that had been made before, but it was the first time that anyone decided to map how many schools lacked access to electricity in the country. And we were able to create this gap tool, that's the name of the tool, and it's open access. With this in mind, and with the support of UNDP, what we will do at the next stage is to pilot microgrids in 2 schools in the country. These 2 schools were selected with the support of the Ministry for Education, and also accessing to local communities that UNDP was also able to support us to get in contact with. And the point here is to make decisions that are data driven. The whole point is also for us that if we want to implement a project, we want to ensure that we will benefit the communities that need it the most, but at the same time that we will ensure that the communities are empowered through these projects. And keeping this in mind, this is where collaborating with local stakeholders has been of crucial importance. At the moment, we will install these 2 microgrids in 2 schools, but beyond installing the microgrid, it's also about the sustainability of the project. And how do we ensure this? We leverage partnerships in the country, in the communities, but we make sure that the communities, that the schools, that the people working at the schools are able to monitor and implement anything that is related to the microgrid in the long term. So we ensure the sustainability of the project beyond a couple of months. And what we have found out too is that beyond these 2 schools alone, we will be able to indirectly impact around 4,300 students across different communities. And how do we do this? By improving access to education, by something as, I don't want to call it simple, because having access to electricity, it's not something simple, and should be the basic and the most basic and the right for all. But once we see the numbers, we realize, no, this is not the case. And I can show you quickly here to a map where you can see that the red dots represent those schools without access to electricity, the black spots, the population density, and you can also see the broad distribution system. The collaboration with our partners has been crucial from the inception of the research with Berkeley, but we've also had immense support from the University of Texas at Austin, because they have been able to provide the technical support that we needed to create the project, and they will continue to support us throughout the project implementation. So we see that the project is being implemented at the community level, but it's not possible without the academic aspect of it, without the UNDP, and with our own local communities and the Ministry of Education. And one more time, ensuring that any decision is based on data, so we can ensure that the project will, at the beginning and through the continuous implementation of the project, benefit those that need it the most. And more important too is that by creating this roadmap that allows us to identify the schools, we can ensure that the next 3, the next 4, the next 10 schools will be properly identified, and we make continuous use of this tool that we have developed. So that's how you can see the importance of data, of making data-driven decisions, but also the importance of collaborating with stakeholders across academia, across businesses, and across governments, and of course, those who will be directly impacted and who will benefit from the project. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maria, for sharing your presentation together with us and really showing some stats as well about how you made access possible basically through those partnerships, and highlighting the interlinkage between, you know, believing at one thing as a young person and as a team of young people, and then implementing it through collaboration and partnership. So thank you so much for sharing about your project. We will now have one more Zoom poll on the screen, which is about barriers, because now hopefully Maria's speech and presentation have also given you some perspective about the previously discussed challenges that we had. So what do you think is the biggest barrier for to adopting renewable energy solutions in your area? So, you know, in your community, is it lack of funding and financial resources that limit the adoption of renewable energy? Is it awareness or information, or lack of necessarily technical expertise, or basically a lack of political will, lack of policy and governance support? So, what is it that makes more sense in your community? And maybe we can discuss this more later on as well on the platform or in the chat. But feel free to respond to this Zoom poll if you want. One of the interesting barriers that came also on the platform was basically the really the lack of knowledge, and but also how the market can be sometimes immature in some communities, and this makes difficult for young innovators, together with the bad challenges like funding and bureaucracies, to basically you know, implement renewable energy systems. So that was a very unique barrier that stuck with me. But please feel free to share this, and now we will see the answers of the Zoom poll. Okay, so the largest reason for not adopting, or you know, resistance in adopting renewable energy solution seems to be lack of funding or financial resources, and the second one seems to be the lack of policy and government support, which is also something that we have seen in our previous two presentations as well. We also have 17% for a lack of awareness and information, and then 4% for technical expertise and knowledge. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if you want to maybe explore more about different regions and different case studies, I really recommend you reading on the platform, because there were different members sharing about how some of them basically overcome these challenges as well. Thank you. Now we will pass to the next presentation for our session today. We will hear from Roxana Borda from Peru, from Project Ailiku. Roxana, I would like you to share more about your project and what are the primary challenges faced by the communities in Alto Mishagua regarding electricity access, and how does your project address these challenges and help the community to have access to the electricity?
Eh, Buenos días con todos. Allí Puncha y Apayakichismo. Muy buenos días con cada ustedes. Es un honor poder estar aquí. También mencionar que en esta sala estamos parte del equipo que hemos hecho lo posible. Estamos trabajando en este proyecto que se denomina Ailuk Anchaini, que está en lengua originaria, en quechua, que significa la energía de la comunidad. Esto para contextualizar un poco por qué decimos que es la energía de la comunidad. Porque la comunidad mencionó qué es la energía que necesita la comunidad, de acuerdo al contexto local que tenemos en la comunidad. Justamente porque vemos este recurso, la energía solar, como alternativa, como mejor opción para nosotros tener acceso a energía. Este proyecto, el miembro que estamos, somos parte del Observatorio Latinoamericano de Geopolítica Energética. Aparte también venimos, no solamente es este proyecto, sino que tenemos varias iniciativas, cursos, talleres, formaciones que venimos desarrollando, todo lo que esté envuelto en temas de energía, de transición energética como tal. Alto Mishagua, el nombre mismo está también en lengua originaria, que significa río sucio. Mishagua es un río, es una subcuenca, pero la comunidad ha adquirido ese nombre como Alto Mishagua. Es un asentamiento básicamente que se caracteriza por convive varios pueblos pueblos indígenas, entre ellos están los yines, machirengas, quechua, y principalmente se dedican a lo que es en temas de la agricultura de subsistencia, de caza y pesca. Una de las limitantes que tenemos en la comunidad es que el acceso justamente, que estamos muy alejados de las ciudades principales, entonces la vía de acceso para allá es vía fluvial, ¿no? Y también estamos en una zona fronteriza, sí, con otro departamento que también es netamente amazónica. Actualmente la comunidad no cuenta con servicios básicos como es el acceso a agua potable, electricidad y salud. Recientemente este año hemos puesto en marcha lo que es el acceso a la educación. El año pasado llevamos todo un proceso, allá años, 5 años, vamos con ese proceso de tema de educación para los niños, porque muchas de las familias tenían que salir de la casa para poder llevar a los niños a un centro de escuela. Entonces, a través de que han podido lograr este año ya concretar una escuela rural a la cual ya los niños ya no tienen que viajar, correr riesgo de viajar en bote para poder llegar a un centro de educación. Y también ahora que hay energía, entonces también posibilita que las familias puedan pernoctar, puedan vivir en la comunidad y puedan dar educación a sus hijos. Este es el medio en el cual viajamos, que son botes, le llamamos peque. Esa es nuestra vía de transporte. Y ¿por qué resaltamos en este punto? Porque si ven, funcionan a motor y ese es a combustible. Entonces, esto es un recurso muy caro para las familias, no solamente de mi comunidad, sino de otras comunidades, porque para poder generar energía a través de uso de combustibles y tenemos que viajar, ¿verdad? Viajar horas, 3, 5 horas, para poder, digamos, hacer compras o también por necesidad de comunicación. Entonces, nos transportamos en este medio, ¿no? Antes, y eso es un riesgo también cuando hay creciente de río, entonces trae palizadas, puede haber pequeños accidentes. Entonces, ya al tener un medio de comunicación en la comunidad, ya no hay necesidad de estar, digamos, viajando toda la comunidad, sino que ya, digamos, hacer encargos o alguien más que pueda recorrer por nosotros. Aquí las familias no solamente usamos usábamos, ¿sí? Estamos hablando de hace un año, más de un año ya, usábamos lo que es las linternas, pero las linternas a pila. También eso ya se ha reducido actualmente mucho porque han adquirido las linternas ya recargables que funcionan a energía. Entonces, el tema de comunicación aquí es vital porque al estar alejados, corremos muchos riesgos, sobre todo con temas de salud. Y el tema de tener acceso a comunicación facilita y también da alcance al tema de poder socorrer a tiempo. Aquí el proyecto está en Perú, en la región Cusco, en la parte norte, la región amazónica. Y que podemos ver es la comunidad como tal. Y lo que vemos aquí es un pequeño sistema rústico con el cual se inició a raíz de la pandemia. Y también es un sistema fuera del sistema como tal. Y es un sistema básico que se tuvo a un inicio. Y también tenemos, bueno, el proyecto está visionado para 40 familias. Justamente específicamente buscamos que las personas podamos tener acceso a energía, tener un alumbrado, porque más antes no teníamos. no tenemos acceso como a alumbrarnos, ¿no? Entonces solamente usamos nuestros aparatos de teléfono y tenemos que dormir bien temprano porque no hay cómo caminar con las linternas, comprar pilas, también es caro. Entonces, el que puede comprar, digamos, una pila, ¿no? Pero el resto, pues, quedamos hacia oscuras y hacer nuestras necesidades, trabajos, todo lo más temprano posible. Y es un riesgo que hay porque como estamos a la ribera del río, hay mucho de tema de serpientes, sobre todo los niños, ¿no? Que corren ese tipo de riesgos. Y también la lejanía, justamente para podernos este, presentar a un centro de salud. Aquí, bueno, presenta nuestro equipo. Somos un equipo multidisciplinario de diferentes países. Muchos ya nos hemos formado. Algunos son muy específicamente temas de energía. Aquí también está presente Juan, está Víctor, está César, de diferentes áreas. Entonces, lo bonito que ha hecho este proyecto es que todos de diferentes ramas de la educación hemos podido colaborar, ¿no? Desde diferentes divisiones, perspectivas y poder armar este proyecto y caminar. Y aparte de ello también que también hablamos diferentes lenguas, el español, el portugués, las lenguas originarias. Y poco a poco como equipo hemos, como estudiantes, sobre todo ese rol que tenemos, ¿no? ¿Cuál es la retribución o cuál es la acción que hacemos como jóvenes estudiantes? ¿Qué podemos hacer nosotros, ¿no? ¿Qué mencionamos esto? Porque como jóvenes tenemos ya, al menos los que tenemos tal vez ese privilegio, esa oportunidad de estudiar, cómo podemos, a través de nuestros conocimientos que venimos adquiriendo, cómo podemos proponer, llevar soluciones, iniciativas, ¿no? Porque muchas veces de nuestras comunidades, de nuestras regiones, no han tenido acceso a educación, no tienen acceso a información. Pero en cambio, nosotros que nosotros hemos tenido esta oportunidad, ver qué podemos proponer, ¿no? Frente a las problemáticas que vienen atravesando las diferentes regiones, también comunidades. Bien. Aquí vamos a ver un poco lo que es el progreso del proyecto, o sea, los avances que ya tenemos. El inicio fue, como mencioné, en el año 2021. Iniciamos con el prototipo, ver a ver cómo podemos implementar, cómo funcionaría. Justamente lo primero es como que garantizar que haya comunicación para poder comunicar con el equipo, ¿sí? Con el equipo que está aquí presente. Entonces, hacer un monitoreo. También, justamente en la pandemia fue muy crítico este aspecto en temas de comunicación, de incertidumbre, de preocupación, ¿verdad? Y el año pasado hicimos la primera fase, que consiste justamente en poder implementar lo que es el sistema de Internet. Es un sistema de Internet satelital, el cual ya hemos instalado y hasta ahorita no tiene ningún tipo de complicaciones ni nada. Más bien tenemos un soporte técnico, acá el equipo está presente, mi persona, César, y también dentro de Student Energy y también del LUT. Hemos tratado y seguimos en ese proceso de acompañamiento, no solamente dejar, instalar y salir, ¿no? Sino que es dar acompañamiento, cualquier estamos pendientes, ¿no? Y en la siguiente imagen que vemos es el sistema que ha quedado. Son las placas solares, la caseta, que está todo el sistema instalado, y los cableados que están hechos subterráneos, porque por el tema de cuidado de los niños, ¿no? Y ahí lo que vemos fue el primer día que hicimos la instalación, que se instaló el tema de Internet satelital, y ahí las personas, todos colaboramos, ¿no? A través del trabajo colectivo, ¿no? Entonces, es para todos el beneficio, entonces todos tenemos que colocar las manos ahí. Entonces, todos hicimos lo posible para ver cómo instalamos. Y hicimos toda la instalación y todos estrenando sus equipos, ¿no? Entonces ya con esta alegría de que vamos a tener un punto de comunicación. La diferencia que tenemos aquí es que es un Internet comunal, no es individual, es comunal, donde todos pueden acceder al tema de comunicación, cargar sus equipos electrónicos, las linternas, los celulares, justamente para comunicarse. Y esta referencia las 24 horas para cualquier necesidad, emergencia de la comunidad. Em, y bueno, en la parte de cuál es el beneficio, el impacto que causa este proyecto, que es un proyecto que estamos iniciando. justamente en el tema de la reducción, ¿no? De la pobreza en el sentido del tema energético, ¿sí? El tema de acceso a energía, el tema de la reducción de desigualdades y el tema de acceso a la educación. Estos cuatro que estamos abarcando el tema de las ODS, y también diríamos que es la ODS 17, ¿no? Justamente para poder hacer posible este proceso, poder conseguir apoyos, fondos, como decimos, partners y demás. Es trabajo en colectivo y en conjunto y bajo coordinación, ¿no? Y justamente aquí lo que se resalta mucho es justamente el tema de la reducción de desigualdad de acceso justamente a energía y también de reducción, temas de mejorar la calidad de las familias, ¿no? De la educación, ¿no? Y también mencionar, ¿no? Que esto promueve un mejorar en qué sentido, que muchas veces el hecho que vivimos en el campo nos dicen que estamos retrasados, ¿sí? Nos dicen que estamos retrasados, que no avanzamos y no tenemos acceso a información. Pero aquí ahora la comunidad sabe lo que pasa en el país, en la comunidad, a nivel global, entonces, porque van viendo qué está pasando en los aspectos climatológicos, ¿no? ¿Por qué está pasando? Digamos que este año hubo inundación en la comunidad, entonces nosotros sabíamos qué es lo que está pasando en otras comunidades, qué es lo que están haciendo a través del acceso a información. Entonces aquí también es muy importante de cómo usar, saber sabiamente la información. Y para casi finalizar, acá también, bueno, es un ejemplo de la comunidad. Los niños ya están recibiendo ahí una charla, ¿no? Un curso, taller sobre lo que es el tema de importancia de acceso a agua, el tema de cuidado del medio ambiente, del bosque, ¿no? Y así en tercera imagen lo que se ve es madre de familia que se está comunicando, ¿no? Ya a distancia, haciendo encargos, ¿no? Para que puedan apoyarles, socorrer. Y bueno, tanto en estos retos y desafíos que hemos tenido en la comunidad, justamente la falta de acceso a energía y comunicación. Y también el difícil acceso, como ya mencioné, que es vía fluvial, el costo de vida, ¿no? Sobre todo que somos dependientes para movilizarnos, que es el tema de combustible. Y también que tampoco no tenemos como energía alternativa, la única que tenemos ahí es el tema de la energía solar. Y como equipo que hemos tenido percances es justamente trabajar por el tema de acceso a financiamiento. eh, las primeras etapas tuvimos el tema de dificultad en acceso a comunicación, no fue tan rápida, justamente porque no teníamos la energía suficiente. Luego tenemos los aspectos climatológicos, que esto ya escapa de nuestras manos, justamente en el proceso de instalación, en el proceso de comunicación y demás, las partes logísticas. Y también las incertidumbres que tenemos, ¿no? Estamos como de a pocos consiguiendo nuestros fondos para poder hacer posible, ¿no? Y ahora nos sentimos un poquito más, la comunidad se siente más entusiasmada y se siguen apostando, ¿no? Por el tema de las juventudes, porque tenemos este fondo que el año pasado fuimos uno de los proyectos que ganamos gracias a PNUD. Entonces la comunidad sabe de ese proceso, entonces hay más esperanza, ¿no? La esperanza y decimos, y la comunidad está dispuesta también a apoyar qué podemos hacer más, cómo podemos hacer. Entonces todos estamos como que en este proceso para poder que todas las comunidades, la comunidad pueda tener acceso a energía. Y ahora nos encontramos con un reto, un desafío, ¿verdad? Al año entrante que viene, con determinar la fase 2, que es justamente ya hacer la instalación, hacer toda la parte logística y hacer instalación netamente en los hogares de la familia. Entonces, la primera fase nos dio muchos aprendizajes, ¿no? Muchas cosas para poder este año poder tal vez no cometer los mismos errores o faltas de coordinaciones o algunos, sobre todo el tema climatológico, porque eso va a depender mucho, que es vía fluvial, entonces pueden subir o bajar los costos. Entonces estamos como estamos con incertidumbre, ¿no? ¿Cómo va a ser el aspecto climatológico al año que viene? Porque tenemos sequías, entonces al año no sabemos cómo vaya a ser. Eso es lo que estamos trabajando en colectivo, tanto con la comunidad como el equipo aquí presente. Y esta es la comunidad desde, bueno, es de la foto del año pasado, en la cual también tuvimos una reunión, presentación, todo es bajo proceso, bajo consulta previa de la comunidad. Si ellos están de acuerdo, los procesos, ¿verdad? ¿Cómo vamos a hacer? Están confirmados en un documento, dicho que tenemos para poder, un compromiso que tiene la comunidad también con el equipo de nosotros, con los jóvenes, justamente darnos este aval, ese respaldo, ¿no? Que estamos de acuerdo para continuar con estos próximos pasos, el uso de imagen, ¿verdad? Algunos videos que necesitamos, algunas coordinaciones, reuniones. Entonces, eso es el trabajo que venimos realizando. Más bien también agradecer a cada uno de los presentes y del equipo. Bueno, Yusupai es en quechua, gracias, obrigado en portugués. Es un honor nuevamente agradecer a todos los organizadores por darnos esta oportunidad de estar aquí y poder conocer nuestro proyecto.
Thank you so much, Roxana, for sharing about your presentation and really for sharing, taking us through a journey of the hope of your community and how your community was running towards helping and collaborating in implementing this project and how, this brought communication, education, and so many other opportunities to the children of your community. Thank you so much. It really was a heartwarming story. Thank you so much for sharing us and the impact of it as well. Without any further ado, we will have a quick Zoom poll to maybe something that Roxana really rightly pointed out, which was like how this basically pulled the children of her community out of remoteness towards education and opportunities. So the next Zoom poll is basically about what do you believe is the greatest benefit of integrating renewable energy into educational institutions? So is it improved learning environment? Is it increased student engagement, cost savings on utilities, community awareness and involvement? So we will give it one quick minute and then because we have one of the awardees left as well. And then we will get to the next presentation. Also, it can be, the answer can be in context to your community. What do you think is the greatest benefit in your community's context for integrating renewable energy? Good. Can we maybe see the answers now on the screen? So we see the most voted option is actually improved learning environment, increase student engagement, and we also have community awareness and involvement, which also makes sense how this basically, one thing leads to another like a domino effect. So thank you so much for sharing it. We now go to the last presentation for today. We will hear from Cedric Atemba from Cameroon, representing their project Hope for a Better Future. Cedric, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you be willing to share a little bit about your project today with us and what specific skills are included in the training program that you do for solar technician and why are they important? So thank you so much, Cedric. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Sahar. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here today. I'll be sharing from Hope for a Better Future in Cameroon, precisely in Bamenda. Our project is titled Clean Energy for All. So we are currently rounding up with the second phase. Generally, our aims are to address the electricity challenges in the crisis-affected areas in Cameroon. In Cameroon, we have the the French-speaking region and the English-speaking region. And there are separatist fighters who are claiming that they are being marginalized, and you have armed conflict. And this resulted to some damages in the electricity grid. And so a lot of communities off grid currently, and that has been going on for over 8 years because the crisis has been going on for 8 years, as well as some other communities too, which have not, which have been off grid since, for a very long time, over 30 years without electricity. So one of the other objectives too were to reduce the reliance on harmful fossil fuels, through burning, and which hampers our environment through deforestation, cutting down trees without planting. We also were out to create awareness on the importance of renewable energy, particularly solar, because here in our region, in our society, in our community, we have a lot of sun, and that is not being really harnessed. So we also wanted to see that we train technically some youths on renewable energy, especially solar. Yeah, those were the main objectives, the main aims of our project. So how did we plan to do this? We plan to do this by establishing, first of all, clean energy solutions centers in these communities where they are affected by the crisis. Since they lack basic energy supply, we have created solution centers with solar powered systems where the inhabitants can charge their phones or get access to maybe energy for basic use and so on. And we also provided them with cook stoves, efficient cook stoves that is going to reduce their reliance on burning fossil fuels, because fuel now here in Cameroon is quite expensive. And we also trained them through our training program. We taught them how they could produce charcoal from their biodegradable waste. They produce eco-friendly charcoal, which they can use now in their in their efficient cook stoves. Yeah, and also the entrepreneurship part, we're training solar technicians that they could maintain this energy solution centers we have provided them, because sustainability was a really big issue. And we saw that training them through our vocational training program, because Hope for a Better Future also runs a vocational training institute. So we saw that training them in maintaining, and of course, entrepreneurship in renewable energy was very important for these communities. These communities included the indigenous people, that's the inhabitants of the communities, as well as internally displaced persons as a result of the war. So besides hardship and all the other characteristics you can name as a result of war, we also had the lack of electricity. As I said earlier, their lines were damaged by the separatist fighters. So for 8 years, most of them have not had electricity. So the activities too, we had community engagement through the stakeholders. We pass in war areas. You don't just move into a community and you start doing interventions, maybe in any field. So we first of all pass through the administrative stakeholders, we pass through community-based organizations. They help us in doing the sensitization of the community members, and they grant us that access. So when we get to the field, I'm just coming from the field now. When we get to the field, you can easily do your operations. If you see this picture here, this lady has not seen electricity since she was born. She doesn't know that you could turn on a switch and a lamp shines. And so we really felt sorry for her. And we sent for someone in town, because this is very far from the central city. We sent for someone in town to get us this small solar appliance. Those are her children. So this can help them in basic lighting. And one of her children suffered from bronchitis or tuberculosis, one of them. And she was coughing a lot because of smoke, which they usually burn in order to cook and light up and so on. So we really felt sorry for her, and we made her one of our major beneficiaries. So we also distributed these solar lamps to many others, because some of the members in the community did not even know the efficiency of solar energy, how it could actually help them. So we brought these small samples to show them how this could help. Uh, uh, in these areas, they use just their bush lamps for lighting. They don't even have the capital or funds to access such durable solar kits. And the solar energy solution centers that we have set up are quite far for some of them to access. So those who are far away from those solar energy solution centers, we tried to give them at least something that they can use for lighting. All these children you see here are they are school pupils, and studying for them maybe in the dark is quite challenging. So this is going to help them too in their studies. And then we also the solution centers we created, we focused on giving them to women to handle, so that we should also promote gender balance. So we identified 4 women and trained them in entrepreneurship on renewable energy. Not just the women, also while doing the training program, we also called upon other youths for them to come in and gain from this training. And most of them are already helping their communities. Some of the challenges we faced while doing this were access. As I earlier said, it's difficult for you to move in a crisis-affected area or in a zone characterized by armed conflict. So most of the time, we had to ensure that we have access negotiated with the separatist fighters as well as maybe the indigenes. And then we also had an issue of employee turnover. Our main driver for this project later on left our organization for some reasons. So we found it difficult for us to really move on as the project had planned. So I had to come in as the new head of programs and study the program all over from afresh and develop a new implementation plan and so on. But I'm happy to say that it's all going on fine now. Now, the next question, Saha, you posed was on the skills included in our training program. As I earlier said, entrepreneurship, we dwell much on entrepreneurship because some of the youths, they actually they are aware about the benefits of solar energy, but then when they acquire these skills, what value can be added? Most of the times, when they acquire these skills, they cannot maybe seek for contracts. They cannot fund themselves to maybe carry out some initiatives. So they go out looking for organizations, energy institutions or shops, and start applying for jobs, which is very, very difficult to get. So we are training them in renewable energy, where they can become able to come up with their own innovations and be self reliant. They should not rely on these organizations where they go and apply for jobs and so on. And then we also worked on the skill for product design. Here in Cameroon, we rely a lot on Chinese products because they are very affordable. In fact, they meet our financial uh, reach, but then they are not durable. So one of the things we worked on, like Pablo earlier mentioned about batteries, we're trying to see how we could do some recycling of batteries to get uh, newer and stronger ones. We also saw how we could design durable products, and why not even make our own solar panels and the rest. So we got some engineers. They started the program recently on training in product design and other aspects of developing solar related equipment. So we also we also trained them on how they could market their products, how they could fund some of their projects, not relying maybe on their family members to fund their projects for them, how they can actually seek for funds, how they could write projects and present them to some top stakeholders and so on. So those are the two main skills which we're trying to promote in our entrepreneurship training for renewable energy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cedric, for sharing about your community and your project together with us today. Um, we really appreciate all of you to stay together with us so far. We are really towards our way to now wrap up the session and attend to the question and answers that we have from you. Thank you so much for sharing all the questions in the chat. Before we do that, before we answer the questions, I would like to invite Farida and Eva again, and for them to share some reflections on the presentations that they have heard, and also some remaining remarks that they want us to leave with. So Farida, you can go first, and then Eva, you will hear from Eva.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Sahar, and thank you everyone for the great presentation. I think this is very inspiring to see the diversity and also the innovation put in these projects. And what it was standard in all these projects that they were really thinking beyond, of the box, like not about like bringing electricity, but also integrating that with other SDGs, with like gender equality, with health, with waste management, with all other broader goals that it could be integrated in this. And this is what I think makes these projects very unique, which will also have the impact beyond just electricity itself. I also like how these projects were very localized, like localized solutions, and like each of them, they had a really like deep understanding of the context or the project area. It's not just bringing something from outside or something that designed outside of the area that is being implemented and just want to have the project, but also knowing the context and knowing what are the specific like solutions that could be responsive in that specific area. Also, I think one of other themes that emerged when I was listening to the presentations, that in all these projects we could see a leadership from the community, like bringing the community into all the phases of the project, from like thinking about the solution, bringing local knowledge, integrating that or blending that with data. That one of the projects was focusing on data-driven approach. Like all of this together makes it very, very well designed to bring not only what we see as like knowledge from like outside of the community, but also like local knowledge that could be really helping to sustain the project. Because sometimes I presume from my own experience that sometimes we think a solution might work in a specific area, but then because we don't consult with the community, then we really face up a huge issue, because we maybe overlooked some of the aspects that if we had consulted with the community, we could really think about solution beforehand. And also what I want to really emphasize again is the data-driven solutions or decision making, which all of the projects of course consider that, but specifically one of the projects we're thinking about how to make sure that from the very first steps or very first stages of designing the project, they know everything that they should know, or how to make sure that they bring this data into the play, so everything is more accurate, more based on what is needed. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for this inspiring presentation. And I'm sure that all other people who joined us as audience, everyone has their own story, their own solutions. And I hope that everyone has really the opportunity and the resources to put all those ideas into practice. And I'm sure that with all these efforts together, we can see a more just energy transition. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Eva. We will move towards question answers later once we have heard from Eva as well. Thank you so much, Farida, for your reflections. So, Eva, you have the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much to everyone who's presented and spoken about your projects that really, again, I mean, they highlight that solar energy is not just the technology, but really empowering communities, promoting ownership, and giving people control over their own futures. It's so powerful and so impactful. And the people in the audience have just had an opportunity to hear from amazing people and doing amazing work. So I encourage you to take their advice in their presentations and see where you can strengthen your projects. I think today's discussions really highlighted those critical pillars. Again, that piece about collaboration among communities, organizations, governments, and funding institutions. I don't think anyone spoke and did not mention collaboration. So we know that the energy transition cannot happen in isolation. The sector requires innovative financing solutions and investors who are ready to commit to youth-driven solutions. And we see that in the solutions that we're seeing today, are so impactful and sustainable in the long term. And again, that data-driven point cannot be understated. So I encourage everyone to really think about, that data-driven point and have that guide our efforts. And then I think, as Frida mentioned, we see that solar energy, the impacts of this extend so much further than just SDG 7 and achieving that goal, but really promoting sustainable development on multiple fronts. And this is happening through these community-driven solutions. So just to say, today is a really cool and incredible opportunity to think about the power that youth have. You have everything it takes to drive this progress. By learning about solar energy, listening to the needs of your communities, taking action, you can really create meaningful change, whether it's, improving the life of one or two people or impacting tens of thousands. So really just know that your efforts have the potential to transform someone's experience. And I'm super excited to see what everyone, the speakers, the audience members, everyone does next. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Eva. And with that, we go to the question answer session. Thank you so much for your time and your closing remarks. We have we have a few questions which are talking about the same thing. So what I have done is that I have tried to mix them and try to ask the questions from you all that are addressing the same point, hopefully, and hopefully it will answer everything that we want here in the audience. Thank you so much for really flooding the chat with a lot of interesting comments and a lot of interesting questions. We really appreciate the enthusiasm here. With the first question that I have is towards Frida. So maybe if you can share what are the most exciting technology advancements in solar energy that could shape the future of the industry in the next 5 to 10 years is something that someone from the audience wanted to share. Frida, the floor is yours. If you want me to repeat the question, I'm happy to do that as well.
Oh, yes, sure. Can you please repeat that again? Sorry.
Yeah. So what are the most exciting technological advancements in the solar energy field, I assume, that could shape the future of the industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, thank you so much for this question. I think so there are a lot of like emerging technologies, especially in solar. But what I think that's more important for us is that like we see the areas that like they need more like innovation. So like as we didn't like heard from many people here today that like there is no like a very specific solution that could be applied in every places, but based on like the community situation in the conditions, there are like systems like we have the solar thermal systems that could be applied in one specific area. We have like solar batteries that like the battery storage is like one of the most, I think, useful those like technologies. We have also integrated solutions that like you combine many of these technologies all together. We have like solar water heating systems. We have solar desalination, sorry. So I think or like decentralized mini grids. I think these are like especially for rural communities. But also, I think beyond rural communities, we can see the trend that they are not only specific to rural communities or like just for the communities that they are disconnected from the main grid, but also recently we have seen that in JFK airport they are using those sort of technologies which can be maybe a sort of sign that these solutions can be also used in places that they are a high peak of like energy demands in like place like New York. So I think like there are many different innovations that every day we hear from them, like we hear like many different experts talking about that. But I think what I would like to mention here is that we need to really focus on also like those like innovation areas that like what could be a better solution for this specific area with these specific conditions.
Great. Thank you so much, Farida, for answering that question. I have a question now towards Eva. So there are several questions which are basically asking about the training program that you mentioned, Eva, and also further opportunities. So maybe I will try to summarize them. What are the benefits after the STEM training for the participants? Are there any opportunities for one to be trained on practical skills on solar energy installation? And this question is coming from Nigeria. And then we also have sort of the similar about the training program, which is I am Hafsat, a community leader from Volunteers for Youth, Volunteers You for Cause, a group of youth that brings their skills to make impact in the society. One of the projects we work on is climate change and renewable energy. I would want to ask to join this program to bring it here for our youth and amplify the impact. How can I join this? So basically everything about the training program and the opportunity practicals on practical skills.
Yeah, absolutely. The STEM traineeship program, I know I also saw some questions about, is it just for women? At this time, it is just for women, because, we see that really underrepresentation of women, and this program is, designed to give skills and mentorship opportunities, and really address that gender imbalance that we see in the sector. So let me just say that. As to the practical skills, I think we just did our post program survey, and I think 100% of our participants said that they gained skills in solar PV system installation, design, and maintenance, and all of them ended up coming out with skills in battery storage, and inverter sizing, and things that I could not even tell you because I don't have the technical knowledge. But those practical skills are there. I mean, they learn with our partners on the ground who are experts in the fields of engineering. In Sierra Leone, we partner with M1 Energy Solutions, who have been working so closely with SE for All on the powering healthcare. They've been doing this for years. Their experts are so much more knowledgeable than, I could dream to be on this topic. And so, they go up on the rooftops, they install solar panels, they do the civil works, they put in the all the energy infrastructure. So yes, I think those skills. And then, of course, we do soft skills development, so focused on leadership, networking, communication. And I think overall that speaks to the benefits, which is really that like direct employment experience. So you're coming out with these soft skills where you have a great resume that's padded with experience in talking to people and public speaking, and yeah, those leadership skills that you really need. I think all of our trainees this year have really underscored that they grew so much as a leader. They have problem solving skills. They know how to work with communities. They know how to explain solar to community members. So really all these things that are so beneficial and that we keep hearing over and over again in the work. And as for how can I join? So we run our traineeship programs in places where SE for All already has a work stream. So that's why we're in Sierra Leone, because we've been working there for quite a while. In Panama, we're working on some collaborations with the governments. So if we have a collaboration in the country that's already ongoing, we kind of integrate the STEM traineeship into that. All my information is on the slides that Lydia will share. So if there's, a specific collaboration opportunity that you see, please feel free to reach out to me and we can chat about it more. All right. Thank you, Sahir.
Thank you so much, Eva. And the last question that I have for today is coming for Pablo. So, Pablo, the question is, does BADX operate internationally or only in Colombia?
Hello. So for the moment, Batex only operates within Colombia. We do plan to expand into other countries, firstly in Latin America in the future, maybe firstly export our batteries. But for the time being, we are focused solely in Colombia.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Pablo. Good. Thank you so much for all of those questions. Thank you so much for being an active listener, and thank you so much for being an active participant in this session. It would not have been possible to bring this session together towards the end without your collaboration. So thank you so much to all the keynote speakers, Farida, Eva. Thank you so much for taking time out and joining us today, and to all the awardees for your great presentations and great project that you were doing. We really appreciated all of your company throughout the session, and I really want to highlight that the discussion on the platform will continue. In case you want to maybe ask some more question, contribute to some more knowledge sharing, please feel free to have a look at it. The platform is really our space as young people for cooperation learning. Just as Eva was saying, energy transition cannot happen in isolation. It's really about the youth for climate action, everything that the young people are doing, empowering each other. It cannot also happen in isolation. So please feel free to have a look at it and initiate like-minded conversations, if you will. And I will be waiting to meet you all there personally as well. If I may ask you also to join the In Our Shoes series group that is also present on the platform, where we post every month about the specific webinars that are happening. There will be happening next one in December about digital innovative solutions, which was also one of the Youth for Climate streams. And this is all that I have to say. So I see you there in the platform discussion. Take care of yourself. Thank you so much for all of your time once again, and hope you have a nice weekend. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.